He was the funniest man in the room and the calmest. The guy who could play a president, a sleazy lawyer, a washed up actor, and make every single one of them perfect. The man other comedians called the glue. Phil Hartman was not supposed to die the way he did. Not in his own bed, not without a fight, not at 49, and certainly not at the hands of the one person on earth who was supposed to know him best. This is not a story about a murder. This is a story about what happens what two broken things set close enough and no one notices until it's too late. Who was Phil Hartman? To understand why this case still haunts people, you have to understand who Phil Hartman actually was, not just the character but the man behind them. He was born in 1948 in Brantford, Ontario, one of eight kids. His family moved to California and Phil. He did not chase the spotlight, not at first. He studied graphic art. He designed album cover for bands like America and Poco. He was the guy in the background making things look good, comfortable behind the curtain. But in 1975, something changed. He found the Groundlings, LA legendary improv and sketch comedy group, and that decision revived his entire life. And the Groundlings Phil did not just perform. He built, he co-wrote PV Big Adventure. He helped shape an entire comedic universe with Paul Rubens. He wasn't so off, he was a craftsman. And in 1986, that craftsmanship landed him on Saturday Night Live. Eight-season castmate later said he wasn't just a star, he was a stabilizer when his sketch was falling apart. Phil encored it what chaos broke out on set. Phil held it together. They literally called him the glue. Off camera, people remembered him as quit. A little guarded, not the life of the party type you'd expected, but professional, almost universally believed. So how does a man like that end up dead in his own bedroom? That answer starts with Brian. Brian Hartman, born Vicky Joe Armdale, grew up in Minnesota. By all accounts, her early life was warm, close-knit, full of energy. She came to Los Angeles the same way thousands of young women do, chasing something bigger. She modeled, she audience, she had the look, the presence, the spark. But Hollywood did not give her what she came for. She found work, swimsuit modeling, small part, but not the recognized she wanted, and somewhere in that gap between who she is dreamed of being and who she was becoming, a cocaine addiction took hold. Her family pushed her toward treatment. She got help, but the cracks were there. And then she met Phil. On the surface, they made scene. He had steadiness and success. She had beauty, charm, and a magnetic energy that made rooms feel alive. They married in 1987, had two kids, Seen in 1988 and daughter Virgen in 1992. People who knew them said they were genuinely loving parents. There were home videos, quit routine, real warmth inside that house. But underneath, Phil's career kept rising. Troy Amsicler, Lionel Hurts, news radio, his name was everywhere. And Brian, the woman who had come to LA with her own dream, found herself living in the shadow of someone else's stardom. Friends would later say she felt resentful, jealous, lonely, like she was invisible inside a marriage built around someone the world could see. And Phil, when tension rose, he did what he always did. He withdrew. The marriage. Here, what makes this case genuinely difficult to talk about, it was not a story of obvious red flag that everyone ignored. It was a story of two people with incompatible emotional systems slowly grinding each other apart. Phil was built for control, discipline, self-containment. When conflict arose, he detached. He went quit, he went to bed, and professionally that made him a genius, a calm anchor in a sea of chaos. But in marriage, that same quality can be devastating. When you pull away from someone who already fears being abandoned, someone already carrying insecurity and addiction and unmet ambitions, that silence does not feel like peace. It feels like rejection. So Brian would escalate. Phil would retreat further. They did repair. Then the cycle would reset. Rinse repeat. By the mid 1990s, some friends thought the relationship was in serious trouble. Others only they were turned a corner. The couple had entered counseling, and Brian's own brother later said both of them told him things were improving. That's the part that get lost in how this case gets told. This was not a doomed marriage that everyone could see falling off a cliff. It was struggling marriage, fragile but still standing, not hopeless, not quit, healed, just holding on. And on May 27, 1998, that holding on ran out. The night. May 27th started as a normal day. Phil was working. Brian moved through the routine of family life. Nothing about that date. Nothing visual suggestion it could be the last fully day of Phil Hartman life. That evening, Brian went out. She had dinner and drinks with a friend. By the time she came home, she had been drinking. There was argument. We don't know every word. We can't know the exact tone. What we know is that is sometime Phil did what he always did. He disengaged. He went to bed. He expected the night to pass like the others before it. In the early hour of May 18th, Brian entered the bedroom with a gun. Phil was shot 3 times. There was no sign of struggle, no defense code, no indication that ever saw it coming. Whatever he expected that night, it was not this. After the shooting, Brian did not call 911. She did not wake the children. She drove to the home of a friend named Roe Deluxe and told him what she did done. He did not believe her at first. Phil Hartman shot in his own home. It did not seem real, but she instead. Douglas eventually returned to the house with her, entered the bedroom, and found Phil dead. He called 911. The call came in around 6:20 in the morning. Police arrived, the children were brought out, and before officer could fully secure the scene, Brass locked herself in the bedroom and took her own life. Phil Hartman was 49, Brass was 40. Their kids were inside the house. The toxicology report told part of the story. Phil had nothing in the system. Brian had alcohol, cocaine, and jollof, a combination authority noted could amplify and destabilize a person's emotional state. Her blood alcohol was 12, but here the thing, and this is important, no single substance caused this, no single argument caused this. No single flaw in either of them caused this. This was convergence and unstable marriage, a history of addiction, alcohol on the final night, emotional dysregulation, a conflict pattern where one person always went quit and the other was left burning, and a gun in the house. Take away any of those factors, and that night might have ended differently. That's the lesson the Hartman case keeps trying to teach us if we are willing to hear it. In the days after, the comedy world grew in a way that felt almost disoriented. Phil was the steady one. He was the guy you leaned on. He was not supposed to the tragedy. The groundlings dedicated their theater to him. He received posthumous star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Fans still quote Troy McClure, still remember Leon's Hurge. His kids, Sean and Bergen, were placed with their aunt, Brian's sister, and raised largely out of the public eye. That Tracy may be the one small Mercian story that had almost none left. And what do we take from all of this? Phil Hartman was not simply a victim, Brian Hartman was not simply a villain. They were two real people with real love, real damage, and a private world that the public never fully saw. The chaos Phil kept off the stage found him at home, and the brightness Brian chased all her life was consumed by the darkness she carried inside. That's what makes this case so haunting. Even now, 27 years later, it was not a mystery, it was not a conspiracy, it was something far more frightening than either of those things. It was ordinary tragedy built slowly behind closed doors in a house where two children slept. If this story stay with you, hit subscribe. We cover cases like this every week, the kind that don't fit neatly into headline. And if you want to go deeper on the physiology of domestic violation, relationship pattern, and what warning sign actually look like, drop a comment. We read everyone. See you next one. Bye bye.